Grace was born in Akure, Ondo State. She wasn't the loud type. In fact, she was the kind of girl you could pass 10 times in a crowd without noticing. Calm. Neat. Quiet. Her beauty was soft. She wasn't the kind of beauty that shouted. She was the kind that whispered. She was the only child of her parents, John and Martha. They had waited 10 long years before she came. Her mother had visited Prayer Mountains, fasted for weeks, and cried at night. But when Grace came, joy returned to their home. Her father called her his crown. Her mother used to call her my evidence. The attacks began when she turned 19. That was the night her innocence was stolen. It happened after her small birthday party. A few friends from school came over. Her mother made jollof rice and chicken. Her father bought her a necklace that had her name carved on it. Everything was perfect. But later that night, something terrible happened. She went to bed around 10 p.m., but woke up sometime after midnight. She couldn't move. Her eyes were open, but her body was frozen. And then, she felt it. A pressure on her chest. A weight between her legs. A breath on her neck. No one was there. But someone was. She cried silent tears as invisible hands held her down and took something from her that she never gave. Her innocence. Her peace. When morning came, her thighs were sore. Her bedsheets were damp. Her lips were swollen. And her soul felt empty. When she managed to stand up, she noticed something. Her nightgown was stretched around her chest area like someone had pulled it in the night. There were marks on her inner thighs. She looked in the mirror. Her eyes were red, and her lips were slightly swollen. She didn't tell anyone. Who would believe her? Her mother was in the next room, and she hadn't heard anything. Her father was already dressed for work. And Grace, she just kept quiet. She told herself it was a bad dream. Maybe her mind was playing tricks on her. But it didn't stop. It got worse. Sometimes she would wake up crying, with bruises on her legs. Other times, she would feel him watching her in the shower. At first, she told herself it was her mind. But how do you explain waking up with male fingerprints on your thighs when you sleep alone? Sometimes, the presence would whisper in her ears. Deep, cold words that sound like a strange voice. Other times, she would wake up and see wet footprints leading from her bed to the wall and vanishing. She began to fear sleep. She would stay awake till 3 a.m. trying to fight it. But once she closed her eyes, he would come. And every time he came, he took something from her. Not just her body, but her joy, her peace, her strength. When Grace turned to 25 years, the first man was Daniel, a kind-hearted boy from her school. He had been watching her from afar. One day he walked her home and said, "Grace, I don't know how to say this, but I like you. I want to know you better." Grace smiled weakly. "Let me think about it." But that night, Daniel saw something in his dream. A tall, dark figure stood at the end of his bed. No face. No eyes. Just darkness. And the voice said, "Leave Grace alone. She's my wife. If you don't, I will take your life." Daniel woke up sweating. Terrified. He never called Grace again. She was confused. Hurt. But she stayed quiet. Grace was thinking Daniel didn't come back to her again. Whenever Daniel saw Grace coming, he would quickly pass another road, and Grace didn't know what is happening. She think it's normal. Then came another man called Samuel. A youth copper teaching in her university. Tall, fine, respectful. He liked how Grace carried herself. One day, he walked her to the hostel and said to Grace, "There's something special about you. Can I take you out sometime?" Grace hesitated. And later agreed to follow him. That same night when Samuel returned home from outing, it happened. But this time, the spirit didn't wait for dreams. Samuel was walking down the stairs of his lodge when he saw someone in the corridor. A tall man in all black. Eyes red like burning coals. He walked slowly toward Samuel and whispered, "If you love your life, leave Grace alone." I said, "Leave Grace alone. She's my wife. Next time, I won't warn you." Samuel fainted on the spot. He was rushed to the clinic. When he woke up, he resigned his teaching post and left town. Grace cried for 3 nights straight. She locked herself indoors. Didn't eat. Didn't bathe. Just cried. She was thinking and asking herself questions. This is the second man, what is happening to me? She told her best friend Bimbo. A sweet, confident girl who had known her since secondary school. But Bimbo laughed and said, "Grace, you've been watching too much horror films. It's probably sleep paralysis." Grace said, "It's not a film, Bimbo, I am drying inside." Bimbo said, "Let's discuss it later, let's talk another thing." But inside, Grace, she's broke. One day she met a young man named Joshua. He was bold and handsome. He talks to Grace. He took Grace on a few dates. Held her hand. Made her laugh again. Grace felt warmth return to her chest. But one night, while sleeping in his room, he fell into a trance. He saw a dark cave. Grace was tied to a rock. A man stood over her, tall, faceless, wearing a black cloak. Joshua tried to run to her. But the man turned and said, "Leave Grace alone. She's my wife. If you don't stop, I will bury you myself." The next day, Joshua called Grace. His voice was shaking. "I can't continue," he said. "I'm sorry. Please forgive me." And he disappeared. Each time, Grace broke a little more. 2 more men, Michael and David, came into her life. And each one left with fear in their eyes. Michael had a car accident a week after asking Grace out. He survived but moved to Lagos without telling her. David had a dream where the spiritual husband beat him with chains and left him bleeding. He woke up with scratches on his chest. Grace's world became small. Her friends began to avoid her. Clara and Sandra, who once shared secrets with her, began to whisper behind her back. "She's cursed. She has marine spirit. Don't sit on her bed." They stopped coming to her room. Uninvited her from birthday dinners. Stopped tagging her in photos. Grace felt like a prisoner in her own life. She would cry in the bedroom, hugging her knees, whispering, "God, why me?" Sometimes, she would be wide awake at night, and the spiritual husband would come. He wouldn't always touch her. Sometimes he would just lie beside her. Other times, he would stroke her hair and whisper, "You're mine." One time, he kissed her forehead and said, "You can never be free from me." She tried to fight. She fasted. She prayed. She went to deliverance programs. But nothing worked. Her mother noticed her daughter fading. Grace became pale. Quiet. Broken. She told her mother everything that has been happening to her. At first, her mother didn't believe. But one night, she heard Grace screaming in her room. She rushed in and saw her daughter fighting with the air, crying, shaking, whispering, "Please stop, please stop." Her mother broke down in tears. The next day, she took Grace to a herbalist in a nearby village. The old man looked at Grace, sighed, and said, "She belongs to a spirit husband. He won't allow her marry any man. Unless you remove him, her life will remain like this." Her mother cried. They tried the herbs. They did the sacrifices. But the spirit laughed. He kept coming. One day, Grace was walking through a quiet street and met an old woman. Old, wrinkled, wise. Her name was Mama Deborah. The old woman touched Grace's shoulder and said, "I see the mark on you, child. But don't be afraid. He can be removed." She looked into Grace's eyes again and said, "Where is your mother? Go and come her for me." That week, Grace and her mother moved into Mama Deborah's house. For 7 days, they prayed. For 7 nights, the spirit came, screaming, fighting, roaring like a lion. But Mama Deborah was stronger. Her prayers were fire. Her words were sword. On the 7th night, lightning struck behind the house. And then, silence. Grace woke up the next morning and smiled. The first peaceful morning in years. That night, she slept like a baby. No whispers. No shadows. No pain. Just sleep. Peaceful, beautiful sleep. Weeks later, Grace got a job at a finance company in Accra. A year later, she met a kind man named Victor, and this time, no spirit came. No dream. No warning. They got married. And that night, for the first time ever, Grace didn't cry in her sleep. She smiled in it. Dear my viewers, do you think stories like Grace's still happen today? Have you or someone you know ever experienced something similar? Backhand index pointing right. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below and let us know where you are watching from. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share with your family and friends, and kindly subscribe for more powerful and emotional stories like this one.